البركة في تلاوته وأنعم حين ألقاهم بلقياه شيخ إذا رتلت ألمحه تقبلني من الإعجاب عيناه.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ولا تقف ما ليس لك به علم إن السمع والبصر والفؤاد كل أولئك كان عنه مسؤولا ولا تمش في الأرض مرحا إنك لن تخرق الأرض ولن تبلغ الجبال طولا كل ذلك كان سيئه عند ربك مكروها ذلك مما أوحى إليك ربك من الحكمة ولا تجعل مع الله إلها آخر فتلقى في جهنم ملوما مدحورا. We are going through the Tafseer of Surah Bani Israel, and inshallah today we're going to be starting from Ayah number 36. In the last lesson and the last couple of lessons, in fact, we've been talking about things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prohibited us from doing. So he started by talking about the disobedience of the parents, and then the killing of the children, then zina, and then taking the usurping the wealth of the orphans, and so on and so forth. Many things that were from the prohibitions of Islam were mentioned. And finally, we talked about last week the issue of not cheating people when doing business. Today, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala starts off with something which is a social phenomenon, which if we were to implement it, social circles and communities would be saved from a lot of distress and a lot of problems, a lot of fights, a lot of arguments, and even households would be prevented from these types of things. And that is the pursuit of those things which a person does not have knowledge. And generally speaking, what that refers to is when a person is accusing somebody of something that is not true, or he has misgivings about a person, he has in his heart something about a person that's not true, or he tries to dig up information about a person, and tries to advertise that information throughout the world. And this all leads to disturbances within a community, and disturbances within a family, disturbances within an environment. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, وَلَا تَقْفُ مَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِهِ عِلْمٍ. Do not pursue something you don't have knowledge. Now this word taqfu, it is from the word qafa. Qafa means the back of the neck. So the back of the neck, the word taqfu means also, it can mean to strike somebody on the back of the neck. Okay? So it can mean do not strike somebody on the back of the neck. Because usually when a person pursues these type of things that I've just talked about, it's usually behind somebody's back, right? So don't strike somebody on the back of the neck means that don't pursue knowledge which you don't have, and don't spread stuff which you don't have knowledge about. Okay, that's the meaning of it. And another meaning is to basically pursue somebody and to follow behind somebody. And again, when you follow behind somebody, what is it? You look at the back of his neck, you look at the back of his head when you're following him. So again, the same meaning applies. Don't pursue this person, don't go after this person. And from this word, same word, is the word qafiyah. In Urdu we use the same thing also, qafiyah to sha'r, which means that the rhyming of the poetry, okay, which follows, right? Which follows, the rhyming of the poetry means the first line, and then the second line follows the first line, and then the third line follows the second line. So the rhyme, it follows, that's why it's known as qafiyah, because of the following that takes place. Also there was a village, a group of people amongst the Arabs that were actually known as Qabila al-Qafa. Qabila al-Qafa. Why? Because they were experienced in tracking people. They used to look at people's footprints and they used to be able to track people using those footprints, and they were actually called al-qafa because of the fact that they were experienced in pursuing people. So وَلَا تَقْفُ مَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِهِ عِلْمٍ, do not pursue that thing that you don't have knowledge about. Now when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the word knowledge, okay, it basically it eliminates all of the things which are not knowledge. Okay, ilm is one thing. Anything other than ilm is what's known as dhann. Dhann means just thoughts in a person's head. Ilm is knowledge, to know something, to absolutely be sure of something, and anything other than that is not ilm. So do not pursue something which you don't have ilm about, meaning don't pursue things which you are not certain about. There are a few hadith which we should keep in mind. What does this actually mean? Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu says that لا تقف ما ليس لك به علم. It means لا تقل, don't say something which you don't have knowledge about. And Aufi says لا ترمي أحدا بما ليس لك به علم. Do not accuse somebody about something that you don't have knowledge about. Qatada says لا تقل رأيت ولم ترى. Don't say I saw and you didn't see. وسمعت ولم تسمع. And I heard and you didn't hear. وعلمت ولم تعلم. And I know and you don't know. These are all, they fall under this category of وَلَا تَقْفُ مَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِهِ عِلْمٍ فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ تَعَالَى سَائِلُكَ عَنْ ذَلِكَ كُلِّهِ. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to ask about all of these things if you do things which are against what has been mentioned. And the ayah goes on to say, إِنَّ السَّمْعَ وَالْبَصَرَ وَالْفُؤَادَ كُلُّ أُولَٰئِكَ كَانَ عَنْهُ مَسْئُولًا. Indeed, the hearing and the seeing and the heart, all of that is going to be questioned. So if you think about it, these are the three senses through which we derive these thoughts and these misgivings. We see something and we think, okay, this must be the case. We see a person, for example, going into a convenience store in the middle of the night, and we automatically assume in our heart that he must be going to buy beer at this time of the night. What else would he be going in for? Okay, so that's, we see something and automatically we assume. And then hear something, we heard something, we heard that, you know, X, Y, and Z did something, and we automatically assume that it's true. Okay, so it starts with the hearing and the seeing, and then it goes into the heart, and then after that we propagate it and we tell people about it. But this seeing and hearing and everything, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to question us about it, so we need to be very careful. The Prophet ﷺ also said, إِيَّاكُمْ وَالظَّنَّ فَإِنَّ الظَّنَّ أَكْذَبُ الْحَدِيثِ. Beware of dhann, beware of misgivings, because these misgivings and these bad thoughts, they are the most false of sayings, or the most false talk is the dhann that comes into a person's mind. So this all falls under the category of something which is known as ghil in the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to remove ghil before we are entered into paradise. We cannot enter paradise if we have jealousy and hatred, and if we belittle people, and if we have any kind of thing in our heart, illness in our heart. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not going to enter into paradise. That impurity has to be taken out of our heart, because Jannah is a pure place. It doesn't allow impurity inside it. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to remove it before we enter paradise. So that removal could be, we need to be put into the hellfire to get it removed. And if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants, He can remove it by Himself. But it's a very dangerous thing to be, that a person is actually involving himself in these type of things in which he has misgivings about other people. So do not pursue things about which you don't have knowledge. This is the first ayah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions. The next one, again very, very important. وَلَا تَمْشِ فِي الْأَرْضِ مَرَحًا. Again associated with the illness of the heart, arrogance, kibr, and haughtiness, a person thinking himself to be something. There's a very powerful saying of Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu. He says that a person, his beginning is a drop of impure sperm, and his end is a rotting corpse. Okay, that's what we are as humans. We start with impurity, We end by becoming rotting and smelling corpses, and in the middle we walk around carrying impurity in our stomachs, and we think that we are something. This is a saying of Ali radiallahu ta'ala. Beautiful saying, and something to really contemplate, that what are we and why do we think ourselves to be so big? Remember that kibr and arrogance was the thing that God, the shaitan, removed from the majlis of the angels. Shaitan actually worshipped Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for thousands and thousands of years, and he was a jinn, but he became so pious that he used to sit with the angels. He got this place next to the angels. So then when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded the angels to prostrate to Adam alayhi salam, only he had the ability to refuse, because angels cannot refuse, right? But he refused on the basis of ana khayrum min, I am better than this guy. Okay, that was his whole argument. I am better than him. Khalaqtani min nar wa khalaqtahu min teen. You created me from fire and you created him from soil. So I'm better than him. So this was the arrogance that eliminated and got him out from the majlis of the angels and made him end up to be rejected until the day of judgment and condemned to the hellfire. So this is something we need to keep in mind. It doesn't matter how much worship we do and how close we get to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It only takes a flash, a second, for us to basically disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and become arrogant, and that can take us from the highest of high and we can become the lowest of the low. So we need to be very careful about that. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says here, وَلَا تَمْشِ فِي الْأَرْضِ مَرَحًا. Do not walk on the earth with arrogance. Do not walk on the earth with arrogance. And that basically doesn't literally mean walking on the earth. It means don't do any action that displays arrogance. Don't be argumentative. Don't always think that you're always right. Humble yourselves in front of people. This is what Islam is about, and this is what Islam teaches. And then Allah says to us, and basically makes us realize what we are and how significant we are. إِنَّكَ لَن تَخْرِقَ الْأَرْضِ وَلَن تَبْلُغَ الْجِبَالَ طُولًا. How insignificant are you, O human being? You cannot rip up the earth, and you cannot reach the height of the mountains. Who are you? How insignificant are you? All it's going to take for the mountain, or a few rocks to fall off a mountain, to kill you, or an avalanche from the snow to kill you, or some cold temperature to kill you. That's how weak and insignificant you are, and you become arrogant when you really are powerless. We are all powerless in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if Allah tests us in a certain way, we would fail miserably. So, إِنَّكَ لَن تَخْرِقَ الْأَرْضِ. You will never be able to rip up the earth, and you will never be able to reach the height of the mountains. So why are you being arrogant? Why are we being arrogant? It's not possible for us to be arrogant. There's a beautiful couplet which I'll mention. وَلَا تَمْشِ فَوْقَ الْأَرْضِ إِلَّا تَوَاضُعًا فَكَمْ تَحْتَهَا قَوْمٌ هُمْ مِنْكَ أَرْفَعُ. Do not walk above the earth except in the state of humility, because under the earth there are so many people that were higher than you at one time. وَإِن كُنْتَ فِي عِزٍّ وَحِرْزٍ وَمَنْعَةٍ فَكَمْ مَاتَ مِنْ قَوْمٍ هُمْ مِنْكَ أَمْنَعُ. If you think that you are protected, and if you think that you have some kind of a protection around you to prevent you from dying, then how many people died before you that had more protection than you? SubhanAllah. Think about that for a minute. Okay? So all of that is related to arrogance. It is mentioned in a hadith, بينما رجل يمشي في من كان قبلكم وعليه بردان يتبختر فيهما إذ خسف به الأرض فهو يتجلجل فيها إلى. While a man was walking amongst his people, and he had two beautiful sheets on him, and he was arrogance. Tabakhtur means to walk with the shoulders back, chest out, with arrogance. So he was walking amongst the people, and immediately Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sucked him into the earth, and he will be sucked until the day of judgment. And another, we know about Qarun, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sucked him into the earth, which is also mentioned in the Quran. In another hadith, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Man tawada'a lillah rafa'ahu Allah." Whoever humbles himself, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala elevates him. فَهُوَ فِي نَفْسِهِ حَقِيرٌ وَعِنْدَ النَّاسِ كَبِيرٌ. And in his heart, he is haqir. He lowers himself. He thinks himself to be low, but in the eyes of other people, he is kabir. He is big, and he is elevated, and he is respected and loved. So, tawadu' is something that Islam teaches. And this is again, contrary to all of the teachings that we are taught in society today, right? We are taught, be a man, stand up for yourself, stand up for your rights, and be proud. I mean, there's a pride there's a certain level of pride that we're supposed to have as Muslims, that we know we're in the right and so on. This is a certain level of pride. But arrogance is something that we are taught in this society. Be arrogant, So Islam teaches us, no, be the opposite. Be humble, and you will be respected for that. You will gain respect in people's eyes because of that. And there are many, many hadith which talk about the same thing. So after mentioning all of these things that are prohibited in Islam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then says, كُلُّ ذَلِكَ كَانَ سَيِّهُ عِنْدَ رَبِّكَ مَكْرُوهًا. All of these things are regarded as sayyi. These are things which are wrong and despised by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and disliked by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't like them. So be careful of implementing these things. Become a better person by getting all of these things out of your system and implementing all of the prohibitions that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned. Allah then addresses the Prophet ﷺ and says, ذَلِكَ مِمَّا أَوْحَى إِلَيْكَ رَبُّكَ مِنَ الْحِكْمَةِ. This is what your Lord has revealed to you from wisdom. I mean, if you think about all of the things that were mentioned, the respect to the parents, taking care of the orphan, and making sure you're not cheating somebody in business, not being arrogant, and not killing a child, and all of the other things that were mentioned, these are all things that are hikmah, the wisdom of building a society which is beautiful, a society which is united and loving and affectionate, and it has no problems whatsoever. If we were to eliminate all of those things from society, just imagine what a beautiful place it would be to live. Okay? So this is what is mentioned here right at the end. ذَلِكَ مِمَّا أَوْحَى إِلَيْكَ رَبُّكَ مِنَ الْحِكْمَةِ. This is the wisdom that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed to you, O Prophet of Allah. So, meaning, implement it, and you will see the results of that in front of you. And then finally again, it started off with وَقَضَى رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّهُ. All of this prohibition, it started off with, do not worship except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't worship anybody except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ends all of those prohibitions with the same ruling. وَلَا تَجْعَلْ مَعَ اللَّهِ إِلَهًا آخَرَ. Do not make any ilah with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, any other God to be worshipped other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Otherwise, فَتُلْقَى فِي جَهَنَّمْ. You're going to be put into the hellfire, maluman, in the state of maligning, maligned, blamed, madhura, rejected. Okay, so the ayah actually is addressing the Prophet ﷺ directly. Only the Prophet ﷺ is being addressed, but indirectly we are all being addressed, because the Quran was revealed to the Prophet directly, but indirectly we are being addressed, that shirk is not something that is acceptable to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If we implement it and if we practice shirk, then the result will be the hellfire. With that, we finish off inshallah today's lesson. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us tawfiq to understand and practice what has been said and heard. Yeah, she's got some antibiotics, Ceflix, something.
Yeah, Keflin.
Or a day. It helps you with something to infect.